Where you put your cell phone can determine whether you will pass an exam or not. A University of Texas study found that when students left their phones in another room, they scored significantly higher on their tests than if they took their phones with them. And if their phones were with them, but in a separate bag, their work was done better than if their phones were in front of them on their tables. Why is that? No matter how immersed we are in our work, our brains are not able to completely ignore temptations. If distractions are there, a part of our brain capacity will be spent on suppressing them. And this goes contrary to our culture that has taught us to rely on our willpower. What do you mean? We are adults. We know how to control ourselves. And you know what? We started believing that we are fully capable of ignoring these distractions. But temptations are still there. And either we give in to them, or even if we don't, restraining ourselves requires a constant expenditure of our emotional energy. In various parts of the world, in Switzerland, in Australia, in the US, studies have confirmed that both boys and girls learned better in single-gender classes. And this is obvious. If a girl is sitting next to a guy in class, it is not a phone that he just took with him. It is a phone that is constantly ringing in his ear. We have been convincing ourselves for decades. What do you mean? We are civilized people. We can reject those temptations. But all the studies have blown these arguments away. Willpower, of course, is necessary for everyone. But modern psychologists and sociologists advise not to rely on it, rather than being enticed and trying to control ourselves. We should control our environment so that we shouldn't have to constantly control ourselves. Firstly, there is less of a chance of failing. And secondly, we will be able to devote more energy to what we are doing. Maybe this is among the reasons why people today feel more stressed. I constantly have to overcome my temptations. Yes, each one of these temptations may take a very little amount of my emotional strength, but there are a lot of them, and they're everywhere. Judaism is often criticized for its strict laws that protect a person from committing a sin. For example, the same topic of contacts between genders. According to the Jewish law, a man is not allowed to be with a woman who he is not related to in a room alone. And they shouldn't even touch each other, even shake hands. Or the laws of Shabbat. On Saturday, we are not allowed to even take into our hands objects intended for prohibited on Shabbat work, like a phone, for example. These objects are called muktzah, which literally translates as separated or even alienated. We completely cut ourselves off from what is prohibited so that we won't even have a temptation. I've heard complaints about Jewish law many times. Come on, we can control ourselves. These laws are too limiting. But as you see, every study shows that these restrictions are necessary. To spend time more fully on your vacation, or to be more focused at your work, to be a better parent or a friend. Don't rely on your self-control. We need to control ourselves when we have failed to properly control our situation to avoid distractions. And this will probably happen, and it might happen often. But initially, we should always try to control the situation that we are putting ourselves in order not to have to control ourselves.